Hello, people listening, because you're not watching anymore, because we're not on video anymore. Hi, people in the future. Lila and Naomi here for another conversation on our year of expansion. I think that we are going to continue to call it that for the rest of the year.
Works
for me. What happens. And we are all off script and all off protocol this week, but we were just having a juicy personal conversation that we thought would be a juicy, y'all-inclusive conversation. So welcome.
And it ties in, oh my gosh, you guys should have heard it. Nothing like opening that little loop. But it ties in with some of what we've talked about over the last few weeks. Yes, the conversation has been a lot on judgment, but we had started talking about how we define things, our own personal definition. What does it mean to be a wife? What does it mean to be a significant other? What does it mean to be a healer? What does it mean to be whatever that word is, especially in relation to expectations. So it's kind of an offshoot of some of about because what brought us to, oh my God, this needs to be recorded, was how do we define badass? So, Lila, you want to recap what we were talking about and get back into this conversation?
How much of a recap? So I was just lovingly fired by one of my VA clients who told me that my healing arts work was super important and that should be my main focus. And then proceeded to give me a coaching session, for which I am super grateful. And like, this can be another conversation that we have in the future about like how much I've expanded my receiving, because that was uncomfortable. And in there, as I was explaining some of my fears and discomfort around fully embodying, hi, I'm Lila, badass healing artist. Nice to meet you. What hurts in your world? I can support you in soothing that. And she said, what would it take for you to be badass, embodied, and powerful in your business every day? And I was just like, those are going to be my morning affirmations. So, my definition, and Naomi thought, I don't want to be badass. My adrenals will cuss me out if I decide to be badass. But it lit a fire in me, because for me, in the context of that, badass means brave. Brave beyond, like, I've known since I was 19 that coaching is my jam. It is my jam. I am so good at it. I do it when I'm not thinking about doing it. I do it like breathing. And healing arts, I was born with a modality, we'll say, because I had energy healing before I knew what Reiki was.
Girls got some gifts, people.
So here I am, as Naomi said, best kept secret of my lovely circle. And stepping out into the world, whether it is the online world or even my local world, and embodying that and owning that unapologetically and like standing tall when I say it and breathing, that requires badassery. That requires a bravery that I have yet to embody. So
and
I still get to be
way, perfect.
Yeah, I get to be badass, and my adrenals get to be nourished and supported. Because when they're not, I hear Naomi in my head talking to me.
Oh my God, no. Well, and part of what brought us to that point was there was a conversation that had been had of how full our weeks were last week. And refused to use the B word, I'm not using the busy word. They were full. And there were a lot of things that were going on, lots of plate spinning, lots of appointments happening, lots of things, lots of stuff. And then all of a sudden, and I personally took advantage of the fact that it was all rainy, crappy here yesterday, and so pretty much all day we worked weekend, and I've got an event weekend of this coming weekend, so I was really looking forward to 2 days off of doing really nothing. And
love it.
And it's one thing to want to do that. It's another when your body's just like, yeah, I know you thought you were going to do a bunch of stuff, but no. We are sitting curled up in a blanket, cocooning, and because no, I have no energy and you've burned me out. It's like your adrenals flip you off. And so when we were talking about badass, part of me is like, I'm already badass. There's somebody, there's another coach I know who, when you go through her 1-day program, you get a certification certifying you're a badass. And I'm like, I don't need the piece of paper. It tells me I'm a badass. And as we're talking about that word, I'm just like, I can just hear my adrenals going, yeah, but will you fucking let up for just a second?
Right.
Because to me, badass means I'm doing all the things all the time and I'm hitting it hard and I'm constantly nailing it. When I think I mean, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Wonder Woman, all the badass women you can think of, all rolled into one all the time, 24/7. In my head, that's my internal representation of I'm a badass. I can do it all. I can do all the things all the time at 100%. You're not stopping me now. I can just hear Queen, don't stop me now. No. And then my adrenals being like, oh, you hate us and we hate you back. So how do you define badass? Frankly, I like your version of badass better.
Thank you.
So I may have to redefine badass for myself because owning it unapologetically. Mm-hmm. So is it okay if I challenge you since we're quote on
Yes.
there?
Yes, let's.
Fantastic. I want to hear you repeat what you were saying about you being a healer in the healing arts and the coaching. And I want to hear you say it in a way that sounds unapologetic because I heard a little smallness in there.
You heard the smallness because you have Naomi ears. Okay, this is why you should have Naomi's in your life.
So let's embody that badassness as you define it in speaking it. Bring it forth, baby. Woo!
That's why it's part of my morning affirmation, so I'm not living it yet. That is so
great. You have till tomorrow. Just kidding.
I love it. So this is fun. I did agree to this. I don't honestly know that I can say it without being like, oh my God. Like, I know it intellectually that I am.
I know you do.
I am so, I'm going to use the word blessed, but I don't mean for it to sound lucky. I mean, like, I am such a channel for divine guidance and divine wisdom. And like, it just flows. It flows like freaking water.
Beautiful. Okay, so you owned that.
Yes. I don't.
There was no timidness. There's no temerity in that. Beautiful. No. Own that.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
And what would it take?
If that was missing in how you said it before?
To know. Good question. So what would it take, better question for me anyway, what would it take to be the embodiment of that whenever I talk about my business?
Mm-hmm.
And I stood up.
You can, right?
I stood up because before I was sitting on the bed and it was helping to shrink.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it brings on a little bit of slouch and comfort and smushing in the cushions and yeah. So I think that's a beautiful thing. So what I hear you saying, so I'm just going to make sure I'm on the right page, is you know and understand that you you speak words of wisdom that come through you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are that channeler. You are that divine guided stuff comes flowing out of your mouth, and sometimes you're like, wow, I don't even know where that came from, right?
Uh-huh. Very true.
Version of what Lila does, right?
Or I don't know how I knew that, but
there's a knowing, and I just know it. And
yeah.
So what in your telling of the fact that I'm a healer, I'm a coach, okay, I'm seeing it in visuals more than I'm seeing it in words. So let me try to put this in a words form, because I can't draw you a picture because you can't see me. It's as though right now you have them as two separate things. I'm going to date myself. Back in school, we had the projectors, the overhead projectors, and they'd put those little acetate films on, and it would shoot it up on the wall. Some of you are probably listening to this going, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. Just trust me on this, or go look it up.
1900s, children, 1900s.
Right. Oh, my God. And no, not early. So
I love the projectors.
Right? And you could take two of those overlays and lay them on top of one another and get an even more complex picture. Yes. So it's almost like you're treating them as two separate things. And I picture you taking that divine inspiration and that knowingness and the words that come flowing out of you and the techniques and the brilliance that is, I am also going to say, is you and is of spirit, and overlay that onto, I'm a healer, because they're not separate. They're together, right? It's like an overhead projector sandwich.
And to make it relevant to the millennials on the line.
Oh God, I don't even know how. Layers in Photoshop, baby.
It is the original PowerPoint presentation.
It's like you've turned on all the layers in Photoshop.
I will work on that.
Yeah.
Energetically. It is an energetic thing. And I think there's another layer of this. Like, this is another layer of the work that we have been doing. In case you guys don't know, Naomi's one of my healers because she's phenomenal. Don't tell her that, though. She gets all weird when you use the H word.
Oh, I just don't want the government listening in because, there's a belief that only Western medicine and drugs can heal you, which is frankly, girl.
Well,
but I'll leave that soapbox under the bed for right now.
We'll bring that soapbox out for a different conversation.
Absolutely.
But when we started with mini timeline therapies, just to see if this could even be a thing that can work via distance, we started peeling off the small Lila layers. And this feels like another opportunity to peel off another few layers, because it's never one thing. Go into a session with Naomi like, sure, let's do this and see what happens. Hey, you got rid of my headaches. They're gone. I don't know where they went, but they're gone. I didn't even know they were still here, and now they're gone. Thanks.
See, super great side effect. And that's the power of the work that both you and I do, is the side effects we have aren't cautionary. Be careful, you could have bleeding from your nose, your eyes, and every other orifice on your body, and you might get constipated or have diarrhea, and your head might explode. They're not cautionary. The side effects are really pretty freaking awesome.
We don't watch the news at our house, and so we're in the barber shop, and the news is on, and there's a pharmaceutical commercial. My 12-year-old says, why would anybody take a pill to fix one thing if it's going to cause all those problems? And I did not have an answer for him,
my friend. No.
So no, baby.
I do, but it's probably a longer answer that I will leave off of this call as well.
Yes.
So part of how we got into all of this is the juiciness of how do you define badass? And I think I'm going to make an assumption that most of the people listening, a good percentage of them are women. Mm-hmm. There may be some men, and I certainly hope there are, because I frankly think that this is a non-gender conversation.
I agree.
Because I think you can be badass and be a dude.
I agree.
And how much in our culture do we expect, and then subsequently judge ourselves on, which is the conversation that we've been having leading up to all of this, expect of ourselves to be that Wonder Woman, Superman, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, whatever other amazingness, oh my gosh, I should be like Richard Branson because he does all the things and he's so brilliant and he's so easy with it all and he's so vibrant and he's going and going and going and going. Or, I think of one of my mentors and it's like, oh my God, I'm exhausted even living one of her days. One.
Right.
And yet that's this thing I hold myself to. But what if instead all we had to do was be unapologetically us? Mm-hmm. And unapologetically own our gifts, because and be able to unapologetically speak of them, because then my guess is our adrenals wouldn't burn out. This is something I'm going to ponder, because I think there's a lot of profoundness to that alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can totally have a mind-body nerd moment. But yes, I concur. I agree 3,000 million %, which I think is why we were healing fear and anger and the other three things that timeline works better, guilt, which I was apparently very invested in hanging on to the first time. And have the headaches go away, because those were the thoughts and emotions holding the headaches in place. I mean, as a super single mom, orphaned only child with 3 kiddos who I am solely responsible for, which is my story, there is a lot of fear in that. Even if I'm not aware, there is a lot of fear, especially when I'm couch surfing with 3 kids. Like there were plenty of I don't knows. I don't know how I'm going to put gas in my car tomorrow, and I can't stay at home because I live in transitional housing, and I have to leave the property at 9 a.m. with these 3 children. So I need something to show up today. I've had more than one of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Or when we moved here and we finally did get an apartment, like, how am I going to pay this month's rent? That was not always answered. So even if I was not consciously aware of the fear, there was so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't talk about the guilt and the anger and the other stuff, because that could be 3 more phone calls.
I was going to say those are other phone calls. But the fear, for those of you who don't know, in Chinese medicine, which I'm a huge fan of, this is definitely the body, mind, spirit nerd out time, is associated with the kidney system. The adrenals are part of the kidney system. Now, Western medicine, if you're tired and burned out all the time, they're going to look to these, and they're going to look to thyroid. In Chinese medicine, adrenal burnout, adrenal fatigue is the precursor to thyroid issues. Western medicine doesn't really acknowledge that much. Some do, more integrated practitioners will. And so if we're always living in a state of fear, and I'm gonna put it out there that living in a state of smallness is a form of fear. Right. Right? Because if I'm showing up small, what's behind that? What's driving that? Why am I being small? I'm I'm talking about myself, but I frankly don't think I'm that unique in this instance. I think this is a universal thing. If I'm showing up small, typically there's going to be a fear of being rejected, a fear of being ridiculed, a fear of nobody listening, a fear of nobody wanting what we've got. I know that's been true for me in the past. Still sometimes happens, I'll be honest. Oh my God, what if they don't like me? Well, then they're not paying attention because I'm a tornado of glitter and sunshine.
You are a tornado of glitter and sunshine. It is so true.
So being small. So therefore, if we go big or go home, if we play big, but big doesn't necessarily mean the doing all the things to prove all the stuff. But maybe if being big and being badass means simply really owning. I'm so adopting your definition of badass because I love it so much more. Than it's less adrenal tapping than mine is. But being brave beyond by owning unapologetically. And a question I scribbled when you wrote that was, how can being unapologetically you and owning your gifts, desires, and talents avoid or heal adrenal burnout? This is something I'm going to be looking at. So, right? Because if, dear listeners, you want to have that elusive balance, and I put little fake quotation marks with my fingers around that because I don't frankly think that balance exists the way we think it does. But if we want to achieve what feels like balance for us, means we have beautiful energy when we need it, and not from the, well, I went ahead and tapped my adrenals to rev out and throw out a little more energy and now they're tired. No, a constant source of, the word divine keeps coming up, which is not my word, it's Lila's. Divine energy. If we want that, if we want our energy to be coming from that place instead of tapping out our adrenals, so maybe divine energy is it. How will owning...
The lady who prayed an amazing prayer this morning, but go on.
Oh, thank you. It's that might be a word that I have to start looking at as being mine too, maybe. Just like the H word. Oh, hell's bells. And where are you owning? Because I don't know if you people could all hear it when Lila starts talking about the fact that she channels this and these divine words come and this knowing this happens and it's not her. She owned that. Well, frankly, that's a gift. It's an amazing, I'd say a talent, but talent makes me think you need to go on a show and win some money. And it's a gift. And when you're talking about the fact that, well, I've always been a healer, and so how can we, because you being a healer, right? Divinely given, divinely inspired, divinely blessed, divinely celebrated. I am picturing your crew all like doing some kind of happy dance out there, right?
Yeah.
And when we own that, we aren't putting ourselves through stress. And sometimes it does call for being brave beyond what we've been before. Where do you need a double dose of that in your life, people?
Right?
Because it may not be around what you do for a living. Maybe you're dating for the first time post-divorce. I don't know. Maybe you're running for city government. I don't know. Maybe you're walking in some protest march. I don't know. Where in your life do you need a double dose of being brave beyond and owning you unapologetically?
That's a beautiful question.
I just think your adrenals will love you for it.
Your adrenals will so love you for it. And you will love you for loving your adrenals, because then you won't be a crabby monster anymore.
Right?
My reality.
A crabby monster, or I swear to God, I saw Lila in here. Where is she? Oh, she has become one with the couch, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Although the children do appreciate all of the dinner out they get. When my adrenals have burned out, like, oh, don't worry about it. I ordered pizza. It's okay.
Because there will be no cooking tonight.
Yeah, there will be no cooking. And there is that from a place of burnout. And then there is that from a place of, like, divine self-care, which was me yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
My body started one of my very special headaches Friday while I was sleeping, which is all kinds of fun. And Saturday was kind of meh. Like, I wasn't thrilled, but I wasn't terribly awful in pain. And Sunday, it had evolved into the next layer of my very special headaches. So I woke up, made breakfast, got dressed for work, explained to my boys, I am buying you fast food for dinner. You have 5 hours to decide what you want to eat and text me, or you will eat whatever I bring through the door. And they were like, thanks, Mom.
Right? So they're getting a treat. You're getting a treat.
Mom's having leftover curry. Mom is not cooking anything. I can afford this.
I'm not cooking.
Right. Which is very different from the times that I have laid on the couch, unable to move, and ordered one of the children to make themselves pasta for dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think that's knowing and understanding what our bodies are asking for self-care wise is an important piece, and probably a whole nother conversation, actually.
Probably, yeah. Definitely.
How do you feel about being a badass?
Oh. Pretty badass until my ego, like, got involved. I was like, yes. And then my ego was like, but all of these reasons. So running the clearing statement around that, because I don't even know what they are. I did not give my ego an opportunity to articulate all of the reasons, but I could feel it. Like, I could feel the drain. So gonna run the clearing statement.
That's beautiful.
Everything that is, because I am so beyond willing to release it.
I'm even seeing where I have some definitions, some old imagery in my head, because I'm a picture people. Of years ago, when I think I'm a badass, and that energy of it's almost that human design that shows up with it, right?
Yeah.
And yet there's this image years ago, one of the companies I worked for, who shall remain nameless, although I don't think they exist any longer. They were interesting. They were different. And I had not cleared a lot of the anger and shame and grief and all the other crap I was carrying yet. And I thought I hid a lot of it really well. But when you've got that much shoved and stuffed, it oozes from your pores even when you don't mean it to.
It so
and does. It really does. It just does. And I ended up with the nickname, the double-fisted fuck you girl. Oh. Because the energy I brought to things was like, my version of badass back then was, I will fucking tear you up. So in my head, I think there's still some residual badass equals fuck you. And so for me, I think that's where the clearing statement is going to come in, is clearing that. And again, the redefining what is badass, so that I can really feel that ness of it without that ness having my overhead projector overlays of fuck you. because it does not have to be fuck you with it. So I think the defining of it and the clearing of the old crap that no longer serves what badass can be,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Absolutely.
And like unapologetically me.
Yeah.
Love that.
And borrowing from other people's definitions, sometimes that's like required and a helpful thing. When I left Memphis to move here, everyone told me how brave I was. And I was like, dude, I'm not brave. I'm basically going home. Like, this is not brave. I mean, I am moving in with my mother-in-law. There is some bravery to that. But the rest of it, not brave at all. But this is definitely brave for me.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, and when you started defining it, yes, it was like, oh, that makes sense to me. That resonates with me. So yeah, you just heard my auditory digital and my kinesthetic both get on board with your definition of bravery. Not because sometimes we're not certain, how do I define it? And or I might have a definition that's wishy-washy, or it's like, yeah, it's kind of, but it doesn't really fit. And then somebody else will say something that's like, oh my God, that's it right there.
Yeah.
Brave beyond what I've been before. Yeah, that is badass. And that doesn't necessarily look like I've got my cape and tights on. That may look like I gave my elevator pitch at a networking event in front of 20 people.
Yeah.
That might be it. And I didn't sound small. Yay, even better. You know, but badass is levels. And some borrowing other definitions until I find it truly, or maybe that is truly incomplete definition, because sometimes other people's words do strike the chord.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when your client said, what about this? And you were like, that's my affirmation. It was somebody else's words, but it was words spoken that fit you, right?
Yeah, deeply resonated.
Juiciness. This is so much fabulousness.
I know. Okay, we are at the half-hour mark.
I think it's a beautiful place to wrap up.
I think so too. Do we have wisdom for the people?
If you didn't write them down, go back and re-listen and write down the questions we asked earlier. Wisdom is define badass for yourself. Mm-hmm. Where could you use a little bit more being unapologetically you? And how do you bring that to bear? If badass isn't your word, what word is it? Own that. How can we help support you in clearing stuff that doesn't serve you in that area and helping you step into being unapologetically you and unapologetically owning your gifts? Pop them in the comments.
My wisdom for the week is, if you do not have a Lila or Naomi in your life, we are available to you.
That's right. If you need a tornado of glitter and sunshine, or a badass healer, you know where to find us.
Genuinely though, like, I keep people in my world who inspire me to be the embodiment of who I actually am, and not like small or scared or fill in the blank. And so if there are not people in your world who do that for you, then acquire some, and we are available.
We absolutely are holding that space for you to step into it.
Yes. And we will talk with you guys next time.
Bye.